Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Real Impact. I'm your host, Tom Bilyeu, and I took myself from scrounging in my couch cushions to find enough change to put gas in my car to building $1 billion business largely on the back of books that I read, TV shows that I watched, movies. And the idea behind this show is to go in deep on shows like that and find the mindset principles that you can pull out and use in your real life. On my left, I am joined by none other than Dr. Finesse. And on my right, by Casey Files Elliott. And today we are talking about the Cloverfield Paradox.
Spoiler alert.
And I almost forgot what we were going to be talking about, but we got there in the end. So here we go. We're going. And the first segment is Initial Impact. What do you got for us?
Well, you know, it's funny because, as you know, this movie was kind of kept a secret. No one really knew about it. Most people didn't know about it. Until they revealed the preview during the Super Bowl. So people were like, oh, wait, what's this? So people jumped to it right away. I know some people who jumped to it right away. So something about revealing something during the Super Bowl sets high expectations. So people jumped to it, and I'm sure you've read, but it got panned. It got panned by a lot of people collectively, even by friends of mine. So it was like one Friday night, I decided I'm going to watch this. I just need to see what this is about and why it was being panned. And I'm not going to lie, I thought it was great. I very much enjoyed it. It's exactly what I needed. I mean, I don't know what they expected. Did they expect like Alien or something? I don't know. I think when anything that involves space and being, in a sense, trapped in space and having to problem solve in space, and you know what the previous Cloverfields were about involving monsters, I think people expected maybe I'm going to guess that they expected some type of monster was going to be in the cabin and they had to fight the monster. You have my full attention if you do anything involving time travel or anything involving alternate universes or fractured universes, any of those elements. And you have to try really hard to mess it up for me. I'm just an easy sell on those concepts. Easy sell. So I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a great cast. I thought it was great acting. The lead, the character Henderson, was that Hamilton? Hamilton. I thought she did an excellent job. I have a crush on her, so that helped also. And it was great to see David Oyelowo. I love that actor, and so I had no idea who was going to be in it. So when I saw him, I was like, oh, wow, there he goes. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to dive in because I very much enjoyed it. I think there were some great themes in this. It wasn't just a space movie or a movie that was expected to be a space monster movie. It was something that had some good concepts and themes. So,
and by your own confession, you're an easy sell. All right,
yeah,
so this will be an interesting episode.
I was just going to say, this is going to be a good one because I thought it's funny to use this phrase because now television has become so highbrow. But imagine like the 90s. This felt like a 90s TV movie to me.
100%.
that's amazing.
Just plot, 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 and characters you know nothing about and are supposed to care about, and just like slapped together like all the stuff with Hamilton, the main character's husband. I feel like they filmed that months and months and months later and just like haphazardly inserted it in. And I do know it wasn't originally going to be a Cloverfield movie. It was written on its own, and then
Interesting.
My spirit.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think that adds to a little bit of the issue.
I've been betrayed.
But also that was the case for the second Cloverfield movie, which I loved. And I did watch all three this week, as I told you I would.
That's interesting. So the second one in the underground bunker.
Yeah, it was originally, I think it was called The Cellar, and it was just a straightforward, I guess, horror story. And then I don't know if J.J. Abrams got wind of it or something happened, and they were like, "Ooh, we can make this a part of the Cloverfield universe."
Wow, that's interesting.
And I like that idea. I think it's really cool to like have this universe and then tell different types of stories within that universe. So like the first one is a monster movie, but told from like, what would it be like if you were on the ground when the monster invaded? And then the second movie was like, what if a doomsday prepper was right? But then it's also a horror movie, like a kidnapping story, and with just within that universe. So I like that idea. And then before watching this, I was like, ooh, here's another chance to tell a different, like a more hardcore sci-fi story set in space. But it just didn't work for me. I had fun. I almost wish it had, like, there were moments of comedy, And intentional
O'Dowd
or not,
whatever his name is.
Yeah,
Chris
Yeah.
O'Dowd, who Christopher and I talked earlier. I love him. I want him to be in everything. I want him to become a huge star. So please, Chris O'Dowd, continue to be in everything. But I felt like maybe if they'd gone more hardcore in the comedy, I would have liked it more because some of it was unintentional. I don't know. The drama just didn't work for me.
Man, I think so first of all, I will just say that you nailed it when you said it felt like a TV show. Even angles they were choosing, I was like, whoa, this feels like 90s TV. Not like the TV we think of now. Yeah. So for kids watching this, it'd be like, TV's amazing. TV didn't used to be amazing, boys and girls. So, and it felt like bad TV. And I was just like, I should have, and I didn't, should have looked up the director because I'm like, this guy 100% cut his chops in TV. And it just, it felt like that to me. I thought the comedy was so wildly misplaced, and they would have had to have gone all the way to like Evil Dead, to like for it to be redeeming, where you've gone so comical.
I would have preferred them to do that. I think
that at least would have gone one way or the other, because you can't have a guy whose hand is crawling around and making jokes and not at all, by the way, emotionally traumatized by missing his arm, and the stump just magically didn't bleed. Oh God, there were so many fucking weird things about that. But and then expect me to like take it seriously when like she's going through the real drama of like what happened in her life. Yeah. And so I was just like, kids, like tone is everything. And if you can't nail that tone, it is so dangerous. Yeah. And look, as somebody who like, we're going to be creating stuff, comic books, TV shows, movies, the whole nine. And so like, I get it. This is a trap waiting for us as much as it's waiting for anybody. But if you're going to be approaching something like that, it is so dangerous. Like you've got to have the most artful people with the most trust of the studio so that nobody fucks with it. So you don't alter the tone. So like take, T.D. White Kiki, what's his name? The guy that did Thor Ragnarok. Yeah. So I don't know how he kept people at bay long enough to actually do that tone and not have it fucked up. Smashed, right? Yeah. Your boy James and the whole franchise of Guardians of the Galaxy smashed it, right? Nailed the tones, got it right. But the same thing where they've got to trust him enough to do that and not fuck it up. And either the director just didn't know how to nail the tone in this, or people fucked with him and wouldn't let him either in, like maybe he shot something that was more close to that and they made him tone it back and tried to make it a Cloverfield movie and take itself a little more seriously. Because this midway through did not feel like a movie that was trying to really take itself seriously. So, but then like the whole thing as it unfolds with her family, I was like, you got to tell me that up front, man. I've got to know like what haunts her and like why is she there? I didn't understand it. And every fucking filmmaker out there, I want you to lean in right now because I'm begging you. Do not have a critical plot point be mentioned once and then move on. I didn't quite hear what she said about like who was missing or what happened to them or something when they're in the car. Yeah. And I thought it couldn't have been that big of a deal. It was such a throwaway line. So I didn't rewind it. And then later you find out, oh, it's this whole fucking thing and she killed her kids.
She
and
killed
I was like,
her children.
Whoa. Like, kids, you threw that away in a fucking line of dialogue? Like,
did you see that as a throwaway also?
Yeah, there was no emotional backing to that issue for her. We didn't see any of it. It was just like, by the way, I killed my kids. And then like later on, it was like, let me clarify.
But let's say, right, if you're going to plant this thing and you're like, oh, we're going to have this big emotional payoff, it's going to be amazing. Like in the car, I need to be like, wait, why is she reacting like that? She didn't have a big reaction. She wasn't weird about it. He just goes, I'm afraid if you don't do it, nobody will. Right. All right. Okay. Yeah. Respect. Go up in space. But like the father certainly does not seem traumatized. Yeah. The mother didn't. I literally had, because I missed that line, there was nothing in their performance to orient me. I had no idea that it was like a big thing. Yeah. So I just thought, okay, she's like, there's obviously some energy issue that they have to solve, but going to space, she's got to go because he thinks she's the only one that can pull it off. Okay. I didn't get that sense. I don't know why it was shot in a car. Like, reveal things. You got to reveal things. Put people in a location, have them doing something. In fact, can we just have a real quick like lesson in filmmaking? So William Goldman, one of the greatest writers of all time, talked about how he was brought in to either on his own script or somebody else's. This part I don't remember, but it was a Robert Redford film. He was brought in to do a polish, and all he did was change the opening sequence where Robert Redford's character like gets up, pulls a coffee filter out of the garbage can because he's run out, puts it in and makes coffee. And in that moment, you know everything about that guy you need to know. Like that's something I would do. My wife would never do that, right? Like the world bifurcates into people that are like, I get that. And people that are like, oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was such a revealing moment. In the car, stuck in traffic, the fact that she honks the horn, like I'm supposed to like get who she is. Oh God. So finding business that they can do that really reveals who that character is. And I thought they did an abysmal job of that.
My brain must have filled in the blanks because it seems so clear to me. I don't know why or how, but I must have filled in the blanks. It seemed very clear to me.
I'm willing to accept you're just a better person. And you have to aim at that lower brow audience like myself. All right, our next segment, Cold Stone Themery. This is where we go into some of the themes in the film and talk about whether they were impactful, whether they hit the mark, and yeah, just go deep. So, Files, what you got for us?
Alrighty, so we briefly mentioned the mission of the crew in this film is to take this particle accelerator into space and use it to fire it, whatever the terminology is, but use it to create free energy. As we find out in the end, that energy is not really free because it unleashes monsters from another dimension into Earth, amongst many other horrible things. So my question is, what do you think the film is trying to say about humans, you know, going after that knowledge, that pursuit of knowledge about our universe? And can science go too far in that pursuit?
Well, everything comes at a cost, so I like how you phrase that. Nothing is for free, not even energy.
Especially energy.
Especially energy in this universe, because you get monsters from another universe. Can I just say I'm very hurt that this wasn't initially going to be a Cloverfield film, and they just decided to make it one.
Did I crush your dream?
You crushed my dream.
Why does that hurt?
Oh, you know what? I think the child in me is dying. Are you guys I'm a sidetrack for a bit, but are you guys familiar with Robotech, the cartoon?
Of course.
Okay, yes. So
that was my jam as a kid.
So many people don't know about it. Americans, I would say, love that cartoon, right? It was amazing. So basically, you remember Robotech, the Next Generation? They had.
I don't remember Next Generation.
Okay, so you did yourself
What's
a
quick
favor.
Plot summary of Robotech?
So Robotech basically is this alien ship lands on Earth, right? There's a whole backstory in the beginning of the first episode, and basically the humans harness the technology from this alien ship and make it their own. And they have these jets that could turn into robots, like these big robots. And the world kind of goes at peace. But now, you fast forward at the beginning of this episode, it's like 100 years ago this happened. And after this celebration, an alien ship comes to retrieve their technology, right? And these aliens, which they later find out are just like these giant humanoids, right? It's an amazing cartoon. But there were 3 seasons of it, maybe 4. And they had Robotech, the Next Generation, this and that. But I found out that because, you know, it's a Japanese cartoon, here in the United States, they have the ability to just overdub it, right? And tell any story they want to. And there is, the main character is Lieutenant Rick Hunter. He disappears after the first season. But the characters in the subsequent seasons keep saying, oh, Rick Hunter's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back to save us. And you're waiting for it. And the show ends and he never comes back. And I remember thinking as a kid, why did he never come back? That's weird. That's a weird ending. And I found out in college, it wasn't until, not even college, just after college, because this is when the internet was around and I was able to look up things and figure things out. And I found out that those cartoons have nothing to do with each other. Like the Macross Saga was the original one and they called it Robotech. And the subsequent seasons, they basically just took different cartoons in Japan that kind of had the same type of technology and threw it together.
Really?
And made, yes, and it broke my black heart.
That is shameful. That is a lie.
Shameful. So back to this, I'm going to go back and my initial impact, I'm upset. I'm an easy sell, man, but man, you pulled the wool over my eyes and you just went for it because I was an easy sell. Now to go back to your Cold Stone themery, science can be dangerous. You know what's really dangerous is when you create film science and you deceive an audience.
Oh, well,
Wow.
let's talk about the film science. So as I'm watching this movie, I literally had just finished Michio Kaku's new book, who, by the way, any fans of Impact Theory, he's coming on the show. Mad props to this man right here. And so his new book is about the future of humanity, what that looks like from a technological perspective and the different scales, levels of societies that can like harness 100% of the energy of their star and then of the galaxy, and could we ever harness the power of the universe, all that, right? So it's talking about energy and what all that looks like. And in it, he talks about how one of the holy grails is to be able to create antimatter, but creating antimatter is very energetically expensive. In fact, the Large Hadron Collider creates small amounts of antimatter, and that it costs something like $26 billion a gram or something. It was just absolutely insane. And he was like, it would bankrupt the United States to try to create enough antimatter to create, because he was talking about antimatter rockets and things like that, propulsion. And so he's talking about how little energy like you're actually able to create in these colliders. So they whirl these protons together and they smash them together and they create like they're trying to create a mini universe. They're trying to create like the moment of the Big Bang, right? But he was talking about how they don't really create enough energy for people to worry about, and that the sun routinely throws way more energy on us than the particles that we collide. So I was like, literally, those words are still hanging in the air from me reading the book. And they're like, we're creating free energy with like this particle accelerator.
Like,
and I was
no,
like, no, you're not. Like, call it anything else. Call it like whatever you want. Make it up. But it's not a particle accelerator. Let me tell you that right now. So I was like already off to a bad start with the science is weak. And then I felt like one of those asshole scientists who were like, that's not really how it happens. And I thought I didn't want to be that, because in sci-fi, like you've got to sort of let go of that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a great quote from Frederick Pohl, who said, it's not the sci-fi writer's job to imagine the automobile, it's their job to imagine the traffic jam. And I thought, oh, that's so smart. So it's like, I quickly let go of the fact that it was like, okay, this isn't the real science.
And there were, correct me if I'm wrong, but real scientists that were fearful before detected Higgs boson.
Exactly.
Well, here's the more terrifying part. They're still fearful, even though, as Michio Kaku points out, the radiation from the sun creates collisions of something like, and this isn't going to be the exact number, but it'd be directionally correct, something like 100 million times more energetic just from the sun colliding with particles on the Earth than they create in the particle accelerator, which is why they were like, dealing with the public on this is absurd. They're like, guys, this happens all fucking day at like these energy levels that are so much higher, but we can't predict and then read them. So we're just trying to create these way less energetic particle collisions to see, and maybe one day we could create more and more. But we already know to something like 100 million times more intense that it doesn't create wormholes and suck us in.
Oh, so that's just the media going
That's
wild
people
with
not
it.
understanding. Saying like, hey, wait, like if it does this, and because people say we're going to create mini black holes, and they think, oh my God, it's a rip in time space. So
gonna suck us in the hole.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't quite understand. But people had that same fear with nuclear bombs, that if we test one, that it could ignite the entire atmosphere and suffocate everybody, which of course didn't happen. But it does beg the question that you're asking right now, which is science so dangerous that we should just be hitting the brakes? And you didn't bring this up for any particular reason, right? Other than that it's discussed in the movie. Because I will say it wasn't self-serving, but the comic that we're writing right now is literally around that theme. So the very first comic that we'll be doing, can't say what it's called yet. I have reasons. You just have to trust that they're compelling. But it's flashing forward, kind of like Fahrenheit 451, to sort of a near-term future that you would recognize. But there's an authoritarian government that's putting the hammer down. But instead of knowledge, they're putting the hammer down on technological advancement. And so are they just psychos, or are they actually protecting us from something? And so that to me is a very valid and fascinating question. I happen to be personally a techno-optimist. I don't think you can stop technological progress, first of all, even if you try. And then second of all, I think that while there need to be safeguards in place and people definitely need to think before doing stuff, ultimately I think that technological advancement is positive.
And I'm of the mind, like, it's never going to be bad to know more about something.
Never.
Like, it's never, even if what you learn is that, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that. Like, that was a mistake worth having. So, like, some people would say, okay, in this film, they were able to create this free energy with the particle accelerator, and then monsters invaded Earth. So that was clearly a mistake. They shouldn't have done that. I mean, you don't know until the monster. How could you have predicted that you would open into another dimension and monsters? Like, you couldn't have, but now you know. Okay, maybe we shouldn't do that next time or whatever. So I just don't think you can live your life as a human searching for answers by saying, well, some answers are just too complex for us to understand.
And history continues to repeat itself. Like you when you read the history books or you read about any advancement in technology, with anything, they always had naysayers, collective naysayers, just a bunch of people. Oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. And look, I mean, we keep progressing further and further into the future. And you've got to. You just can't be, I mean, we're going to stay in the Stone Age. Clearly, we're not in the Stone Age now, but if everyone had those ideals, in the past, we wouldn't be anywhere. You know what I mean? We'd be literally in the Stone Age.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because it is a double-edged sword, and technology does bring problems. And like looking at what's going on with CRISPR-Cas9 and the ability to edit genomes and truly alter DNA and expression, someone is going to do something like create an airborne Ebola virus, right? So something like that is going to happen, and people are going to freak the fuck out. But here's the reality: technology.
I'm already freaking out.
When you dive into that world, like there's a book called Our Darkest Hour, if I remember right. And it talks about like all the ways like, oh, you think humanity is going to end from nuclear war. It's not. Stop worrying about that. Here are the ways it's actually going to end. And that was fucking
airborne
terrifying.
Ebola.
But basically.
Contagion.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, even going into Contagion, thinking about what happened with the Spanish flu of 1918, where something like 55 million people were killed. Nobody ever talks about it. It happened right after World War I, and they were so tired of death. Anyway, stuff like that is utterly fascinating. It is a real concern. I don't think people are psychos to worry about it. And if we knew like, oh, this technology is going to open a dimension and it is going to bring monsters, even then, if the monsters don't bring the total destruction and it allows us to then hop around the solar system or the universe through wormholes and things like that, then it becomes a question of, okay, how much can we advance society, protect from ultimate destruction by having free energy, by being able to create sustainable wormholes, be able to travel like that, be a multiplanetary species, and also just what's the quality of life if you're able to travel, essentially beyond light speed because you're bringing space to you. So I don't know. I think that most people wouldn't willingly give it up. Like if you told me, hey, you can have this amazing utopian future, but it's going to cost the lives of, 6 of the 7.2 billion people, would you do it? I'd say, no, I'm not. I wouldn't do it. So, but at the same time, I know that the way that technology advances is often accidental and rogue. So the thought that you can stop people from trying to usher in a better future, I think is foolish. And I think the only thing you can ever hope to do is delay. So anyway, that's my take. All right, next up, we've got What Would You Do? So this is a segment where we go in, we take a moment, a choice that a character had to make, and we debate what we would do. And from this one, what do we settle on?
So Christopher's beloved Hamilton in the film must decide between traveling to alternate Earth, where she learns her children are still alive in order to save them, and returning to her own Earth to save humanity. She has to decide between those two options. So if you had to decide, what would you do?
Oh, man, this is a tough one. The easy answer is obviously go back to your own Earth and don't disrupt some other universe. Which is, we didn't explore this science. I mean, I don't know if it really happens, but every other thing, if you see yourself, like something collides or something happens, whatever.
Like if Hamilton met Hamilton.
Yeah, if Hamilton met Hamilton. But to me, as a parent, the thought of losing a child is excruciating. I mean, that word doesn't even begin to describe it. So I sympathize with her. I sympathize with her wanting to be in this other universe where her children still exist. I mean, they say, grief counseling, if you go to any type of grief counseling, if you read anything about grief, they always say the worst grief is when a parent loses a child because it's the unnatural order. And it's terrible. And then you feel responsible, you didn't protect them, whatever. So she's going through a lot. So I understand, I'll say that, why she wanted to go to that other universe. Now, I don't think I would do it. I would like to say I wouldn't do it because it would be weird to see another me, although cool. but weird. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like I'd be invading this other me's space. Like, if I was, because I put myself in their shoes. If I'm sitting there hanging with Ellison and this other me rolls up on me, first of all, that'd be terrifying. Secondly, I'd be like, wait, so what are you going to do? You going to take me out because you want to be this person's father? Because there are consequences there. I read this very, very fantastic book, and wow, why am I blanking on the title right now? Oh my God, I'm blanking on the title. It's going to be made into a movie too, I just found out, with Brad Pitt. But it's basically about this guy who creates a portal to go to alternate universes. And basically he runs into another him, but more than another him. Because in all these different scenarios and universes, the other him is either lost his wife or never got to meet his wife, whatever, and they're all trying to take his wife. Wow. And they'll do anything because they love her that much to get that wife. So there may be some consequences. So I'd like to think I might do anything to eliminate the other me just so I could be that me's father. So that's weird when I think about another me trying to eliminate me to be my, now it's getting confusing.
You're saying you might murder yourself and take your place.
It seems
in
weird.
The alternate world.
It seems weird, but after reading this book, they do such a good job. The author does a great job of painting this picture of desperation. Because first it's like just fascinating. You want to see in this book, but actually not to give the book away, I'll speak for this. You want to see your children. It's fascinating. Oh, you want to see your children? Babies, it's me. Whatever. And you want to see them alive and well, and you think you're going to be fine. But then you're there and you're thinking, suddenly jealousy sinks in. This other you gets to be the parent of these children, has full custody of these children, gets to be with the children all the time, and you're just this other you hanging out, watching them from the side. You may go crazy to the point that you may do something drastic to take this other you's place. I'm just saying, it gets weird. So, yeah, I wouldn't do it because I know I don't want another me trying to murder me to be father to my kid. I don't want to murder somebody else.
Or do I?
Or do I?
Yeah, so no. Yeah.
This is interesting because it really had me thinking like, okay, so obviously none of us have been to an alternate universe, so we don't know, A, if they exist, and B, what it would be like. But I feel like we're always sort of taught in sci-fi or whatever that there's going to be something like off about that alternate universe. It's not going to be like a carbon copy of your universe.
That's right.
And so if you show up there, just everything's going to get thrown off. I think like
Shazam
what you're saying.
is going to exist.
Shazam doesn't exist anymore. And then sort of that same also trope in like time travel movies. If you change something that wasn't supposed to happen, then you're just setting off this chain reaction and just like ruining the rest of history. So I don't know if that also applies in an alternate universe, but that kind of would freak me out, even that's just our fictional belief as to what would happen. So I don't think I would want to go to an alternate universe because of that. But then additionally, she has the opportunity to save her entire planet by bringing back the technology that the accelerator will create if it works. So I think as much as it would be great to see your children, they're not your children. I don't think they're going to be her children. They're her children, but they're not. But also, I don't think the movie gives a clear answer on this because part of the reason, so she ends up not going, but she does send a message to the other Ava to be like, look, you're me. I know you're going to make the exact same mistake as me, and you're going to buy this device and steal energy and create a fire and kill your kids.
Whoa. Did she say that?
She did.
No, she absolutely did not. And I wanted to throw my phone.
Oh, you mean she didn't give the full details?
Yes.
Oh,
got it.
But
Dude,
that's the
hold
plot,
on.
right?
Like you're gonna send a message, but you're gonna be fucking cryptic about it. Hey, if you got this device, trust me, you shouldn't. I'd be like, bitch, what do you know? Like, I'm gonna leave it in my house. You don't fucking know me.
Watch your kids.
Yeah, I'd be like, look, you put it in. This is what happens on this date at this time. It fucking burns them alive, and you spend the next like lamenting.
I thought the same thing. If you're gonna go as far to be like, hey, look, it's another you. Which will freak the person out. You might as well give the full details.
She gives a vague message.
I was so annoyed with that.
Like, what's this other me talking about? This is weird.
But that confuses me because I'm like,
Yeah.
So are we all like in alternate universes, are we all going to do the exact same thing, make the exact same mistakes? And then if she does get this message to alternate Ava and Ava saves the kids, what happens then? That's not what was supposed to happen.
That's true.
So I don't know. There's a lot of mixed messages, but in the end, I would have to save my original Earth and not go visit my weird alternate creepy kids.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be going down and trying to kill some version of me for the exact reason you're talking about, which is it's not a shared memory system. So you don't actually know them. Yeah. They happen to look like your kids, but they've had different life experiences. It would literally be like having an identical twin. So you may be genetically the same, but you're not experientially the same. And thusly the kids would not know you. They would not share your frame of reference or anything like that. So that was just like a non-entity for me. But it would be hard to go back. And the one conceit in the film that I was not on board with was like, I could forgive the particle accelerator. Yep, fine, no worries. But when they were like, oh, well, if we overheat it again, we'll be back to our dimension. The fuck makes you think that? Like, nothing in this film makes you think that that would be true. You accidentally sucked some percentage, we don't know what percentage, into your spaceship. Can we not guess that we sucked a lot of people into space? Like, if the worms are fucking jumping around inside bodies, the ball, like everything seemed to end up inside somebody's body, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
Like
true.
the ship essentially was inside the woman's body. The worms were inside the guy's body. And then the ball was inside. Oh, the guy with the worm also had the ball. That fucking
he
guy.
really
I
has
was like, damn,
He got it. Like,
somebody hates the Russians.
Yeah. Exactly.
that poor kid just got it 6 ways a Sunday. So I was like, I would be a little tense. Like, so the last time we did this, like 50% of our crew ended up dying as a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
How many people are going to die the next time we try this thing? And that was another thing. I didn't understand why bad things didn't happen the second time. I was like, everything seemed to go just fine this time.
I mean,
so
minus the
I call bullshit on
giant
that.
monster
Who seems
jumping out of the ocean.
Do you think that was from the second one or from the first one? Because they were already complaining about it. Don't tell them to come. Like, don't they know what's happening here? So I'm guessing, because you see it moving through the clouds and stuff, monsters invaded on jump 1. Nothing bad happens on jump 2, which is like just weak writing, in my opinion. Like, I get it. You get backed into a corner. You need some out. I understand. But God, like, it was just, you need to at least give me a scene where somebody says, like, if you're going to write some Deus Ex Machina style shit where it's like, oh, it just happens to work. Like, you need to have, the characters need to get together and go, fuck you, that'll never work. What on earth makes you think that we're going to jump back the second time? I don't know that it's going to work, but we've got to try something. Okay, at least it's a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
But when it's just like, oh, this is going to work. Oh, yeah, cool.
I didn't even understand how she could do it herself. Like, her skill set. Yes. So, suddenly she was able to take over from the I don't know if he was captain, but whatever. The guy who sacrificed himself, his character, and just do it. Like, all of their crew had very important specific roles, and suddenly with 2 people left, they're able to do the hardest experiment that's ever been done in humanity's history.
By the way, they were up there for like 16 years, and then half their spaceship was blown up. But don't worry, the thing that we care about still works. I was like,
oh, man.
I thought they were actually doing something cool where it's like, I love when movies, like, they make it as bad as they can make it and you think, oh my God, like, how are they ever going to get out of this? And then, oh, that's how they're going to do it. Oh, no, they're still screwed. And then it like just gets harder and harder, and then they still find a way. Like, that's the money. So when it was like the ship's hanging on by a thread, shit's blown up everywhere, debris everywhere, which, by the way, debris the size of grains of dust will leave marks on a space shuttle. So it's like when that thing blew up, but not like...
Oh, yeah, that is another thing. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, the only time like space blow-ups I thought were sufficiently damaging was in Gravity, where it's oh shit.
Right. Yeah.
Like that just tore it apart.
Jeez.
So yeah, that just, it's too convenient, right? It is to me, while purists will debate that this isn't actually a Deus Ex Machina, it to me is the same thing where it's so impossibly convenient that just doing this again will jump them back to their own Earth, which of course it does, with no consequence the second time for whatever reason. Why didn't the ball jump again? The gravity thing. I was just like, come on, kids. And since it finds its way into bodies, one of these guys should have this thing in their body. And, oh, by the way, he feels the worms, but not the fucking like volleyball size metal ball in his abdomen. Like, come on, Meow.
He
Where's the
barely
hand
felt the
communicating
worms,
from?
by the way. He
But
barely.
they were talking to him, which I was
I
like,
guess. I don't.
I was like, wait, worms are talking to you? So, oh, God. It was just falling apart on me. Yeah.
Have we
I'll
ruined
stop
it
there.
for you, Christopher?
Oh my God, I feel like
Strong
yeah,
over there.
He lost it when he realized he'd been bamboozled.
yeah, that was
Last segment, we got Case Closed, where we debate something in the film and we decide who's right and who's wrong. What are we debating this time?
Alrighty, so character we haven't talked about yet is Jensen. She is a crew member from the alternate universe who's not in the part of the crew that is our crew, I guess.
It's pretty chill about waking up inside of the wall.
Yes, I did like that. That was freaky. Like revealing, I'm thinking, what is this monster? And then it's a human
like the cries
enveloped
were
by
actually
the
a
wall.
woman's cry. It sounded like this weird monster. Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
Props for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so at the end of the film, Jensen attempts to kill the remaining crew so that she can basically steal the accelerator and take it back to her Earth. She doesn't think... Basically, both Earths are suffering from this energy crisis, and she's afraid just all hell is going to break loose on her Earth. They won't be able to develop this technology as fast as they need to. So instead of the plan they had agreed upon, she's going to kill the crew and steal the technology. Are her actions justified?
By the way, she became like, I'm embarrassed to say I'm forgetting the main character's name in The Fifth Element, but she suddenly became Mila Jovovich's character in The Fifth Element. So she was like kicking everyone's ass. I mean, where did she get so strong? Like,
This is like one of my least favorite movie tropes is that it's so easy to knock people out in movies.
I hate
like,
that.
And they stay knocked out for a long time.
Yes.
I'm like, it's not easy.
Was it What About Bob? Was it that movie where Bill Murray was fishing and got the hook in the dude's mouth, or the hook got into the guy's face or whatever? And then he's trying to get the hook out, but he can't. And then he just starts punching the guy. And the guy's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to knock you out so you don't feel the pain. And it's not easy to knock him out. He's like trying to punch him, but it won't knock him out. And I remember loving that. Because even as a kid, I was like, who are these guys that can knock out somebody with one punch?
Yeah.
And they'll be asleep for like an hour.
I know. And then they wake up and they're fine.
And then
by the
they're
way.
fine. They're not concussed. They're like, yeah, you knocked me out and I'm fine. It just drives me insane. So yeah, all of a sudden she's like this amazing warrior who's just taking people out. She's Wrigley all of a sudden. And in Aliens, not the first one. And that bugged me a little bit. But look, she wants to get back to her Earth, right? I admitted that I might be murderous if I see another me with my son. So who knows? Look at that. See, I just murdered that.
You killed Mary Poppins.
I just killed Mary
All
Poppins.
people that
The
could kick in the
nicest
back of
person
the
on
head.
this table.
I know. That was just icing,
I didn't even
man.
knew that was Mary Poppins. That's amazing. I would definitely do it. I would take out a crew of people if it meant getting back to my universe. I'm not going to go back to some strange universe. No way. I mean, I don't know if I'd go as far as murdering folks. God, this is a tough one.
Well, she wasn't going to go back to she was going to go on like a little escape hatch. And
That's what it was,
theoretically,
yeah.
take the information so that they could create the same accelerator.
If she's just going to do that, then just say, give me the plans, which they wouldn't be like, no, you can't have them.
Yeah, because
Well, they did. I think that was what they were going to do.
But why would they do that?
So
She ends up giving the knowledge to her version of her. So it's like, if you're willing to do that, just give it to this chick so she won't shoot people.
Man, this film's flawed.
Right?
Well, no, I mean,
welcome to the party.
they did give her the information, but she was like, guys, we don't have time to take this information and build it. I need this already built chip. An already built accelerator.
By the time she starts shooting people, though, it's already blown up.
Yeah, it got kind of messy.
Like,
She's crazy.
Yeah.
Just killing folks.
So going back to the initial question, which is interesting, is let's say you're in a situation where by killing everyone, you save your planet, but you have to assume that you kill their planet.
Yeah.
So then what do you do? And honestly, I will just speak for all of humanity and say, we all protect our own. That's the problem with tribalism.
Yeah, yeah.
So unless you are like some just next level Gandhi shit, like, and even Gandhi, honestly, if I had to guess, is going to protect his own first, right?
Like,
So
yeah.
he might try to like non-violence you to death, but But I really think that most people are going to be like, yeah, I would just think of Lisa, right? And I'd be like, there's only one Lisa that's real to me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I got to ice all these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like, my Earth is going to get the technology. Just
I
that
agree.
simple.
You can't hate on her for it. She's got to do
Yeah.
it.
That was the
can.
one thing, when I saw that was the question, I was like, that's the one thing in the film I agreed with. I was like, I actually
Right.
get why she's doing it.
Yep.
So-
1000%.
But
Agree.
I didn't pick up on that she just wanted the info. I thought she needed, oh, you said she did. Because
Yeah.
that's how I read it, right? She
is-
needs the thing,
Yeah.
the particle accelerator.
Yeah.
So, all right, there it is. Now we're at our last segment. Where are your thumbs at? This is where we this is where we reveal, we like the movie from a cinematic standpoint? Do we think that it crushed on mindset? So we always rate movies on both things. So here we go. Dr. Finesse, where are your thumbs at?
I'm still so hurt from it not being a Cloverfield film originally. And
All the lies.
all the lies.
It was called God Particle originally. Just so you know.
Really? Wow, that's
Yes.
very
Which is a
impressive.
real thing, by the way.
I know, they should have stuck with that. I mean, I don't even watch network TV. I won't give it away, but there was a woman I dated once who was a content producer for a very, very famous show that still has a crazy cult following, even though it's not on the air anymore.
You'd know it if he said it.
Yeah, you would know it right away. And she revealed that many of the episodes, well, she just revealed to me how a lot of network TV works. Like, I knew, but she really blew the lid up. Like, man, they just make up episodes along the way just to fulfill advertising dollars. And she worked on a number of shows, ABC shows, and see, I'm narrowing it down. And she she picked one episode in particular out of the many that they do this to. That's probably arguably the most famous episode, of the series that everyone loves, and that's so endearing. And she basically told me that was a go in the writer's room and pull that one out of your ass because we got to satisfy these advertisers. And from that, I mean, of course, writers run with it and they create mythology from an episode.
I was saying, because that episode's actually really good.
Yeah.
So
It's my
I got no
favorite.
beef.
Yeah. But it murdered network TV for me. I don't even mess with network TV anymore because of that knowledge. So when I hear stuff like that, I don't care how great the product comes out. And in this case, it didn't come out great. I don't know. I just feel deceived. Like, there's something great about a collaborative effort in television and in narrative, but there's also something very great about autonomy and having an idea fleshed out, which a lot of cable TV shows do. Like, read anything about Matthew Weiner, watch any interview on the guy, and learn about what he did with Mad Men and how he had a vision and he stuck with it. And anyone who's seen the show, it's a fantastic show, and there's a reason it's fantastic, because there's no meddling. So that kills me. So I'm just going to give it a thumbs down cinematically for that reason. And for you guys revealed a lot of garbage about this thing for me that I guess that was an easy sell in the beginning. And wow.
Did we change your thumb?
You changed my
end?
thumb dramatically. And then for mindset, there's some good mindset stuff in there, but because you deceived me, I'm going to give you a thumbs down. You're not going to get anything from me. Double thumbs down, Cloverfield Paradox.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was not a fan of the film. I really do like the idea that
Good idea.
of taking this universe and then just doing different genres within it. I love that, and seeing how different people react to like monsters invading Earth. It's a really cool idea. So I will watch the next one. There's another one coming, I think, at some point. So I'm not like swearing off Cloverfield forever, but
Watch, they're going to take an episode of The Golden Girls and then somehow throw in something.
The monster show.
yes, please. But so I'm not swearing off Cloverfield despite my distaste for this one. Also, it feels like alternate universes, other dimensions is super hot right now as a plot point. Like Stranger Things did it way better.
That's right. Dark on Netflix. Watch that.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
really good.
Check it
The
out.
German show. Nice. It's on my list.
Also, Twin Peaks. Everyone here knows my love of Twin Peaks, but also deals with alternate universes and other dimensions. And as you were saying about someone having a vision and control and just autonomy, I mean, if you want to watch a show where you get to see the master, David Lynch, at work and having total control over every aspect of the show, along with his co-executive producer, Mark Frost, for that show. But just such a great show, so I highly recommend that. But anyway, sorry, back to Twin Peaks plug. Back to Cloverfield. So I'm going to have to give it a thumbs down cinematically because it was a 90s TV movie. And also thumbs down For mindset, there were interesting questions brought up, as there always will be in like an alternate universe sort of tale, but everyone else is doing it better. So sorry, Cloverfield.
Take that, Cloverfield Paradox.
So definitely cinematically, I'll give it a thumbs down. I will say there is one positive thing to say about this, and that is the set design I thought was amazing.
Yes.
And
yes.
I wanted to be on that ship. I wanted to live in that ship. I wanted to see a movie shot in that ship. Like, I was way, way, way into what they did, from envisioning what the spaceship would look like and it being futuristic but not ridiculous, which a lot of people do, and then it just looks like pure CG. And so I thought that well done. But for all the reasons that we've already covered, definitely thumbs down on that. From a mindset perspective, I'll go thumbs down. Files, you said it best. They bring up interesting questions, but they don't deal with them in a way that's compelling. And so for that reason, I'll go thumbs down. Now, I always consider it my obligation that if I say that a movie is bad, that I have to tell you how it could have been made good. And I think that it had a tone problem, and fixing that, unfortunately, is pure execution. So there's no way other than to say, nail your tone to do it right. So I think they either needed to go all the way to Evil Dead, where it's scary but really funny. And so it sort of depends on how old you are when you watch it. When I first watched it, it was a straight horror film to me, and I didn't realize that it was funny.
So terrifying.
And then you see it when you're older and you realize, oh, wait, this is actually campy and funny. So they tried to walk the line, and the alternate is to go serious and to make it feel like Gravity. And Gravity could have been an amazing title for this because it's the gravity of the situation. Like, really let me sit with the characters and figure out, like, they're going through this. They have these major decisions to make. And rather than fuck around with plot points, like, really let me sit with them in this decision and go, not to this extreme, but like, follow my logic here, 12 Angry Men set in space. And we really go into, like, if that had been the pitch, this is 12 Angry Men in space. Here's what happens. They flip the switch and it flips over to this alternate universe. And now they have to decide, do we flip back? Does this one person steal the energy for their world? Like, and all of the moral conundrums that go along with that. And through that, we reveal that, you know, the woman now has a chick, because we knew about it going into it, that she has this aching wound in her to, like, deal with her kids. And we should have seen her go through, like, being interviewed for getting let on the ship, because they would know that. Like, you're not letting somebody go up unless you know every detail about their family, top security clearance, all of it. So they would know. And she would give this, like, really compelling speech at the beginning about how, look, it was very difficult, and to take ownership of that, I really had to, like, you know, put in my past and all that and figure out how I'm going to be a better person. And this is one of the ways, and that's why I've dedicated myself to this, to bring energy to everybody, and I fully own. And then, like, you feel like, whoa, like, man, that woman's stoic. Like, I could never be like that. I'd be a total fucking mess. And then, of course, we scratch, and as she's got the opportunity to go, like, kill the other version of herself and, like, get her kids back, now she's, like, sort of frothing at the mouth. But, like, you do it in this subtle way where it's just revealed slowly. And first, like, they just accused the fucking German did it. Instead of that, it's like, why do you keep arguing, you know, for staying here? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You've got a husband. Oh, but you've got kids here. We see what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it becomes like this sort of sweat box, like, oh, fuck, like, they're really dissecting her. And let it be about people. So you said in the beginning, what did they expect? Alien? And I was like, yes, motherfucker. You literally put a guy on the gurneys coughing blood and all that. I'm like, you're making me think of Alien. So it nodded to Alien so hard, I thought their head was gonna fall off. But they did, like, so, like, tonally, it was just off. And here's my beef. If you're watching Cloverfield Paradox, get rid of all the stuff back on Earth so that we can take that time to let moments breathe. This is why everything is compared to Alien. Alien was a horror film in space. It was pitched that simply, and it's all about the like, fear building, the anticipation building. It's the suspense. So differentiate between Alien and Aliens. Like, when people try to, like, do both, it gets schizophrenic. And so by the end of this, we're full-blown aliens, people running around with guns, shit exploding. It's like, decide who you are. And
Which they did in the second movie, where they let it, I thought.
You're saying in the second... Oh, Cloverfield.
Where they let
second
it...
Cloverfield was amazing.
Yeah.
And I won't even, like, tie that together. The first two were genius and totally different in their own ways. But this one was just all over the map. So... That's where I come down. That's my, hopefully that's usable and you can redo this and be better. All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoy that breakdown. We want to know in the comments. Hopefully you're playing along, telling us what you would do, where you come down on Case Closed, all of that. We want to hear about it. We check the comments. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And I'm flirting right now with my Vero account. So if you know Vero, follow Tom Bilyeu, because I think I'm going to go hard on media, comic books, movies, TV shows. So I want to see you there. And if you haven't subscribed here, be sure to do so. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care.